Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to open the City of Neenah Common Council meeting for Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. We will start with the roll call. Please indicate your presence on your roll call device, and the clerk will also call the roll.
Alderperson Boyette.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Hillstrom.
Here.
Lundrum.
Here.
Steiner is excused. Stevenson.
Here.
Skirms is excused. Weber.
Here.
Borchert.
Here.
Thank you. Alderman Weber will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for one nation, liberty and justice.
The next item on the agenda is introduction and confirmation of mayor's appointments. We have two, Emily Runnerstrom and Brian Budalewski to the Neenah Arts Council for a 3-year term ending April 2026. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of approval of those appointments? Seeing no objection, those appointments are approved. They will be sworn in at a later date. Next item on the agenda is approval of council proceedings from September 20th. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of approval of those council minutes and proceedings? Seeing no objection, those minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing. There are two public hearings this evening. Item A, consider ordinance number 2023-12, amending section 26-661, parent 11 of the Code of Ordinances relating to tourist housing. And I would open that public hearing now. Is there anyone here who would like to speak during this public hearing on this item? Is there anyone here who would like to speak regarding ordinance number 2023-12? Anyone who would like to speak? Seeing no one, I will close that public hearing, move on to the next item, which is consider ordinance number 2023-13, repealing and recreating Chapter 24 of the Code of Ordinances relating to sign regulations. And I would like to open that public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak during this time on the public hearing on ordinance number 2023-13?
Hi, Tamara Haas, 301 East Wisconsin Avenue. I attended the Planning Commission meeting that was held regarding this subject. I find it a colossal waste of time that this has been addressed at this time in this way, coming forward to City Council tonight, given that it was stated by Brad that the entire sign code was set to be reviewed in a couple of years, and that this was being done under the guise of just conforming with what the state statute is on it, or state guidance. And I guess I didn't realize that free speech had a time limit in Neenah. which is what this change in the sign code, as well as the previous sign code, amounts to, is that free speech is limited, and that, you only have 30 days for the sign code. And then question, is there another public forum to address other concerns with the city, or should I address it now?
There'll be a public forum for other concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public hearing for considering ordinance number 2023-13? Anyone? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing for consideration of ordinance number 2023-13 and move on to the Plan Commission report pertaining to the public hearings. Because Alderman Steiner is not here, I will report out for the Plan Commission meeting of September 26th. The first item is Commission recommends Council approve ordinance number 2023-12, amending Section 26-661, parent 11 of the Code of Ordinances relating to tourist housing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Council President Borchert. Is there any discussion on this item? Any discussion, any questions? Seeing none, please cast your vote for approval of ordinance number 2023-12 on your voting device. That motion passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda is Commission recommends Council approve ordinance number 2023-13, repealing and recreating Chapter 24 of the Code of Ordinances relating to sign regulations. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
There's a motion by Council President Borchert and seconded by Alderman Lundrum. Is there any discussion on this item? Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to ask a question on this. I understand that we are amending what we have, and there's going to be some changes. I'm just curious if, two things, if, Director Hayes, if you could enlighten us, like with the crib note version of this change. And then for the city attorney, I'm just curious, what does this put us in good standings, I guess, considering we've had a lawsuit regarding this ordinance?
Sure. So the primary change to the sign code is in response to the 2015 Supreme Court case, the Reed case, that required signs to be essentially content neutral. In other words, what it requires you to do is be able to make a judgment on the type of sign without actually reading the sign. A real estate sign, for sale by owner, would be considered a real estate sign versus car for sale, right? The ordinance removes that, those kind of specific definitions, and essentially allows signs by size, by location, by time of year, those types of things. So it really becomes, the signs become content neutral.
To answer your question, yes, the new revision, repeal and replace of Chapter 24 takes care of some issues that municipalities all over the state have been dealing with since 2015, when that U.S. Supreme Court case of Reed v. Gilbert came down. When that happened, it put in a state of flux the question of whether or not code enforcement agencies for municipalities around the state could any longer enforce their code ordinances for violations. And it really wasn't until the spring of 2022 when the U.S. Supreme Court case handed down another decision called Reagan v. National. And in that case, it corrected some of what was said in Reed in 2015. But suffice it to say, many municipalities, including this one, didn't really know what they could and couldn't do in light of the 2015 decision. And then a recent lawsuit filed against our city in January of this year brought it to light. And that's what motivated us to take a harder look at our ordinance and, as Director Hayes just mentioned, try as best we could to remove all of those content-based distinctions in the various categories of signs in our ordinance as they existed prior. We've done that now with this revision. Regulations are still allowed, but they are in the categories of time, place, and manner restrictions, not content. And so that's what we've endeavored to do with this revision, and I feel confident that we've done that. So.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. So what operationally will change given the update to the current or the proposed language that we're voting on tonight? What will change in our city operation?
I'm not sure what you mean by operation. Do you mean with regard to enforcement efforts?
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't know that a whole lot will change, honestly. As we've said before, because of resource limitations in terms of staff and time and money, quite frankly, most municipalities, including this one, doesn't necessarily get involved in enforcement things until there's a complaint. It's brought to our attention. With a community our size, nearly 28,000, it's not reasonable to do otherwise. So when we receive a complaint, we'll investigate that complaint. We'll look at the facts surrounding that complaint, compare it to what our new revised code is, and we'll take action accordingly. So I don't know that much will change in that regard.
Okay, as a follow-up, so if there are Biden-Trump signs still out in people's yards, our new language will allow us to go have those taken down?
Yeah, if they're in violation of the time restrictions, and those are not tied to anything other than during a campaign period, and we have mirrored the state language from the state statute, so we should be fine there, unless or until somebody brings a lawsuit against
Well,
the
I guess
state of Wisconsin.
What is the time frame? I didn't see where it was. What's the time frame for political campaigns?
Yeah, whatever the election period is, which is defined by state statute, and I'd have to look it up for you, Todd, but there's a defined period of time that starts when the candidate can take out their nomination papers
Okay,
until.
so that's December 1st in an April election.
Right, yep, until, I think it's a day after the election is over, so,
Day after the election is over?
correct.
Seems odd, but
I went around collecting my signs the day
well,
after.
I did too, but I didn't get them all. But- Okay, so the signs that caused the litigation, what would happen, if this passes tonight, what happens to those signs tomorrow if we get a complaint?
Well, I'm not going to discuss any pending litigation because it is still pending and we're awaiting a federal judge's decision on that. So I'm not going to speculate as to what will happen or not happen with those particular signs. The
Well,
judge
this-
has not
but-
ruled yet.
But this, my question is not in regards to the litigation. I said the signs that caused litigation to occur, the signs themselves, based on our new ordinance, if it passes, what's the ramifications tomorrow to those signs if we get a complaint?
Yeah, those signs are related to the ones involved in the litigation. I'm not going to comment on that.
What will happen to Biden-Trump signs if we get a complaint tomorrow? Do they have 30 days to take them out, or what's? I'm trying to get a grasp of what staff is planning to, how plant staff is planning to implement this ordinance change, if they get a complaint.
They'll enforce it, as I said before. I don't know what else you want me to say. There's litigation pending. It's not in the best interest of myself or the city, the policymakers, to comment on what may or may not happen with those particular signs.
No, I changed the question to other campaign signs. I guess my question is, do the people who have them in their yards have 30 days to remove them if we get a complaint, or how is that enforced?
They can be up 30 days within a 90-day window. Is that correct, Director Hayes?
Yes, so as Attorney Rashid has indicated, a lot of that sign enforcement has been done on complaint basis just because of resources, lack of resources. Once we have a complaint, we would document that the limitation is 30 days within a 90-day window. So we would begin, say, on day one, we have noticed a sign, periodic re-inspections to say, okay, it has now exceeded the 30 days. Typically, we'd then issue a letter anywhere from 5 to 10 days, given the time it takes for mail to get out, anywhere from 5 to 10 days to remove the sign.
Okay, that's,
So which is very much what we have done before, and specific to campaign signs. If you recall, the last presidential election, the council at that time ordered a sweep of the city, which was conducted to essentially deal with all signs, all of those portable signs within residential neighborhoods in the same way.
okay, thanks.
Are you done? Alderman Borchert.
I wanted to kind of vary from, if it's eliminate, same, so if we remove the political aspect, I out there that eliminate sign, I get 30 days. Once there's a complaint, there's 30 days from that complaint. I want to know, just not a political sign. But I know there's a lot of signs around our city that do advertise for events coming.
Yeah, once, so there's obviously a lot of different types of signs, but if we are talking about a portable yard sign within a residential neighborhood, once we get a complaint, we would begin to document to see that that sign actually was in violation. In other words, it was there for 30 days. So nothing happens other than documentation for that first 30 days. Once they have exceeded the allowable time, then an order would go out. And as your example of lemonade sign, a lot of signs go up and come down well within 30 days.
Typically, it's a sign that, like, if there's no complaint.
In theory, yes.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Hayes, I'm confused by this, or perhaps the city attorney, I'm not sure which one of you, but I was under the understanding that we were not enforcing the sign ordinance because of said lawsuit. So with the passing of this, would we begin to enforce that, or would we not because of the pending lawsuit? I'm just curious when this takes effect, and are we enforcing it? I'm just confused. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Let me try to answer that. I'm not sure why it's difficult, but let's liken this to speeding. We would all agree that people on Winneconne Avenue speed from time to time. And when officers see that, they might pull them over, they might not. Some of that's determined by their limitations in terms of how many officers are out there, what else is going on in the city, and so on and so forth. Similarly, there are probably sign code violations all over the city at any given time. Unless or until we know that, we can't take any enforcement action. But once we are notified of it, then we'll go out, survey the situation, investigate, compare that to what the ordinance provides or doesn't provide, and take action accordingly.
I appreciate that, and I totally understand that, but that wasn't my question. My question was, we were not enforcing the sign ordinance at this time because there was pending litigation.
Because a judge told us we couldn't.
Right. So
Right.
we're going to change that tonight with a potential vote. And once that vote, if it passes, then do we start enforcing it? Or
Once
do we
the-
not?
Once that litigation is concluded, and that's why I don't want to talk too much about the
I underst-
interplay
Yep.
between this ordinance fix and the pending lawsuit, because we had a federal judge that said, your ordinance is unconstitutional in this way, and this way, and this way, and we took that, to
Yep,
heart.
yep.
And that's why I made the decision that we're going to, put a hold on any enforcement efforts until we have
Yep.
a decision made, and we don't have that yet.
Okay,
So-
so then my question is, if this passes this evening, we will not be enforcing this new rule until the pending litigation has been settled.
Well, we won't be enforcing the old ordinance for sure, because it's going to be repealed and replaced. Whether or not we should enforce this new ordinance will kind of depend upon the circumstances. So we're kind of in a,
If I could, just one point of clarification. There are parts of the ordinance that we have continued to enforce, and we will continue to enforce. We still require a sign permit for all our commercial signs. We still do a lot of that.
Correct.
The part that has been changed, that, as I mentioned earlier, really is to go, particularly in residential or even commercial or multifamily neighborhoods, this content neutral. So signs in commercial neighborhoods, we still issue permits. We see signs that are problematic from a public safety perspective would likely get an order. We have vision issues or electrical code issues, those signs. So parts of the code are still enforced. So when we say we're not enforcing any of the ordinance, that's not complete.
No, and I apologize if I implied that. I didn't, that was not my intention. I'm specifically looking for the residential yard sign, so to speak. And so I'm just curious as to Alderman Stevenson's question, when are we going, if this passes this evening, will we be enforcing this new ordinance, amended ordinance tomorrow, if there's a complaint? That's all I'm looking at. I just want an answer. Not trying to make it difficult.
I don't know
Under
that we
the
can.
advice of the attorney,
I don't know
I'm
that
not
we
commenting.
can. I don't know that we can make it any more clear, Alderman Boyette. We will enforce it as best we can with the information that we've given and the new ordinance, and we'll have to wait and see. You're kind of asking about a theory, and we really don't know until we get a complaint and we investigate it.
I appreciate that, but that's not what I'm asking.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, please cast your vote for approval of ordinance number 2023-13, repealing and recreating Chapter 24 of the Code of Ordinances relating to sign regulations. That motion passes, 6 yes, 1 abstention. The next item on the agenda is the public forum. Is there anyone here who would like to speak during the public forum? Please come forward, give your name and residential address.
Tara Haas, 301 East Wisconsin Avenue. A few months ago, I came up here and I asked you all to consider how you speak to one another and how that affects people. And there were a few of you that reached out to me to, ask me more about that. And I said, crappy things happen in this world, and it's very important to consider how you speak to one another. And I gotta say, wow, super disappointed tonight, and super disappointed from the last meeting. And that's why I'm back tonight. I think it's disgusting that our city attorney talks down to people, as you just did a few moments ago to Alderman Boyette. I think it's inappropriate and rude that Mr. Hayes and Mr. Rashid had a sidebar chitty-chatty conversation while the aldermen are trying to have a discussion and ask questions at the last meeting. You're representatives of our community, you're elected to be there, and you ask for our respect. And frankly, I asked for your respect, not only to me, but to each other when I was here previously. And I gotta say, I'm really super disappointed, in that behavior. And not just in this chamber, but in other meetings that some of you, including our city attorney and Director Hayes, have been rude, obnoxious, talked down to me, as well as other people within the community. And I think that it's inappropriate, and that maybe, just maybe, that the aldermen should be the ones that are sitting up there, along with our mayor, and anybody who's not elected should maybe be sitting down here so that they don't engage in inappropriate conversation while you're conducting business for our city. That's all.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public forum? I will close the public forum. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the public forum? Seeing no one who would like to comment on the public forum, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of the consent agenda, which is the council, or commission recommends council approve final plat for the second addition to the homes at Freedom Meadows subdivision? Is there any objection to unanimous consent of that item? Seeing none, that is approved. The next item on the agenda is reports of standing committees. Regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of September 26th. Chairman Lendrum.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of September 26, 2023. Minutes can be found on the city website. We have one action item tonight. Item number 1, committee recommends council approve South Park Industrial Center Expansion Traffic Impact Analysis Project to Traffic Analysis and Design Incorporated for $11,608 using funds from the South Park Industrial Center Tax Increment District Number 9. And I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Lendrum, seconded by Alderman Weber. Is there any discussion on this item? Any questions? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device to recommend council approve South Park Industrial Center Expansion Traffic Impact Analysis. That motion passes 7-0.
And that's the end of my report.
Thank you for your report. The next item on the agenda is the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of September 25th. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of September 25th. Minutes can be found on the city website. Item number 1, the committee recommends council approve ordinance 2023-14, annexation number 230, annexing 28.6 acres of land located on the northwest corner of County Trunk Highway G and Honor Street from the town of Vinland to the city of Neenah. And I'm not going to move this. I'm going to pass this on to the Plan Commission report. That concludes my report.
Thank you for your report. The next item on the agenda is the Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue Joint Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of September 26th. Council President Borchert.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the Neenah Fire Joint Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of September 26, 2003. Find the minutes on the city website. Committee recommends council approve resolution 2023-25 authorizing a signatory municipality to exceed the levy limit for Neenah Menasha Fire and Rescue for the 2024 budget. And I so move.
There's a motion by Council President Borchert, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device to recommend council approve Resolution 2023-25. That motion passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda, the regular Plan Commission meeting of September 26, 2023. I will report out for Council Rep Steiner on that committee. Number 1, the commission recommends council approve ordinance number 2023-14, annexation number 230, annexing 28.6 acres of land located on the northwest corner of County Highway G and Honor Street from the town of Vinland to the city of Neenah, and the property receive an R1 single-family residence district zoning classification. Is there a motion? There's a motion by Council President Borchert, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device to approve ordinance number 2023-14. That motion passes 7-0. The next item is commission recommends council approve the preliminary plat for the first addition to the Freedom Acre subdivision, subject to the conditions on the preliminary plat review letter. Is there a motion? There's a motion by Council President Borchert and seconded by Alderman Hillstrom. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote to approve the preliminary plat for the first addition to the Freedom Acres subdivision. That motion passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda, the Community Development Authority. Is there a report, Director Hayes?
I have no report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Sustainable Neenah Committee. Is there a report? Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the Sustainable Neenah Committee from Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. This was an unusual meeting because we were joined by 2 students from St. Mary Catholic High School, Earth Club. So that was a lot of fun. It was the young ladies' names were Ava Hoger and Nora Bain, and they were absolutely inspiring and highly intelligent young ladies. They came to get some ideas from us, but we actually ended up learning a lot from them. We discussed ideas to improve the recycling collection at the school. In addition, Ava and Nora discussed other projects that their club were undertaking, including recycling of cups and school supplies, food waste diversion, and a virtual newspaper. So that was a lot of fun, very, very different and an exciting conversation with all of us. We have a rain barrel project, and 14 of the 19 barrels have been distributed to Neenah residents. 2 barrels have been retained by the committee for demonstration purposes, leaving 3 still available if anybody needs them. Big smile from Brian. Thanks for getting those for us. Committee members concurred that they would like to continue the project in the spring, so we will call on you, Alderman Borchert, for more of those. It was very successful. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. The Bergstrom-Mahler Museum, Alderman Borchert, Council President Borchert.
All right, I'll respond to both. Thank you, Mayor. We're just reporting out from our meeting September 27th. October is a big month for the museum. We are celebrating our accreditation and having a celebration for that. Originally awarded accreditation in 1974, Bergstrom-Mahler Museum of Glass is one of only 21 museums in the state of Wisconsin to currently be accredited through the American Alliance of Museums. Accreditation is the highest recognition afforded to the nation's museums and signifies the excellence in the field. In order to celebrate, we have a bunch of activities going on all throughout October. Art Activity Day is Saturday, October 7th. Spiderweb sun catchers will be made. Conversations with the curator, that takes place on Thursday, October 12th from 6:30 to 7:30. A celebration of giving. If These Walls Could Talk is Sunday, October 15th at 2 p.m. A behind-the-scenes tour of our home Kern Museum. Wisconsin Science Festival Week. There's glass blowing demos on Tuesday, October 17th at 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. And Why Do Birds Sing? Lauren Ritter's PhD, Thursday, October 19th at 6 p.m. And then you're all invited to the annual member meeting, pre-accreditation celebration on Wednesday, October 25th. Lots going on at the meeting. So, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you for your report. At the next council meeting, we will be recognizing Bergstrom Mahler with a proclamation. Parks and Recreation Commission, Alderman Weber.
Thank you, Mayor. The Park and Rec Commission met on September 28th. The minutes are posted on the city website. A couple of business items of note. A lot of time was spent on the review and discussion and questions around the conceptual design by Edgewater Resources around the Doty and Kimberly Point shorelines to enhance those, improve those, repair those, etc. Because there was so much discussion, Edgewater will be taking all of that back and doing some research and additional action. Director Kading did review the application for the Wisconsin DNR Surface Water Grant, and that was accepted. And also, just for future planning, expect to have a concept plan for Carpenter Preserve next commission is October. That's the end of my report.
Thank you for your report. Are there any petitions?
No petitions.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is council directives. We had a council directive motion and second at the last council meeting for Council Directive 2023-03. And at this point, do I turn it to Alderman Boyette?
Thank you, Mayor. So I have I've asked Shar to show a couple of pictures and a couple of videos. They're brief, I promise you, but it's just to give a more, I guess, in-depth information to what it is that I'm trying to get across, is that there are more service animals than the 3 that we have listed in our ordinance. And this is why I feel that if we just change, if we eliminate the 3 types that we have listed in our ordinance and change it utilizing the ADA, American Disability Act, definition of a service animal, I think that would hold us harmless for any future potential issues with this ordinance as it's currently written.
Would you like the videos to be shown now?
Well, like for example, the picture that you see in front of you, it tells you the difference of the dogs. This is not about ESA or emotional support dogs. These are not laws or rules about therapy dogs. These are actual service dogs. Go ahead, Shar. Again, I learned more about this than I even thought I was going to, but I didn't know there were psychiatric service animals as well. And we hear about this all the time. We have autism, PTSD, anxiety. I knew that we had PTSD because I work with the military, and I know that there's plenty of organizations out there that actually have animals and train for that specific use, but I was not aware of all of the medical alert responses. I didn't realize there was high blood pressure. I knew there was diabetes, low and high blood sugars. I didn't realize that there were night terrors and things like that as well. So there's, as you can see from this, there's a whole lot more than just the 3 that we have listed in our ordinance. And then the videos.
All right, she may not look like a lifeguard, but a 3-pound ball of fur right there has a very, very big job in one tri-state community.
This is J-Lo, one of Ohio's first diabetes alert dogs. And as our Scott Wegener tells us, she is trained to sniff out trouble.
I'm gonna give her a treat.
This 3-pound ball of fur with the butterfly ears is a lifesaver.
So she knows if I'm about to go into a coma.
Her name is J-Lo, and she's only the 2nd diabetes alert dog in the state of Ohio. For virtually 24 hours a day, J-Lo is with 12-year-old Ethan Bunger, who's living with type 1 diabetes.
Whenever I'm in bed, she sleeps right next to me.
She can sense when his blood sugar is too high or too low.
You give off a smell.
Before J-Lo came into his life, Ethan's blood had to be constantly monitored to avoid risking death. Now,
she'll lick me and I'll check.
Everywhere he goes, he carries this kit. He uses it when J-Lo smells a problem.
She is trained to do like amazing stuff for my diabetes.
Edgewood Middle School principal David Slammer considers that amazing stuff to include Ethan's fellow students.
This is something that's only going to benefit them in the sense of acceptance, in the sense of understanding that not everybody lives the same way.
Service alert dogs cost anywhere between $22,000 and $46,000. J-Lo is free for Ethan's family, but they're now raising money to help others that need service dogs.
I love her so much.
And for Ethan, this adorable little dog's value goes deeper than her training.
It makes me feel good that when I'm sleeping at night, then I know that I'll be okay.
Scott Wegener, 9.
Most people have no
The service dog. You should never approach from behind suddenly or make contact with them to get their attention. If an episode like this is triggered, here is what to do.
Yeah, I'll be okay. Just a second. Just give me a minute and maybe a drink of water.
You want to give them space, talk to them when they're calm, and let their dog do their job. At work with a service dog.
I think enough people realize that the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990. Just 30 years ago, disabled people had no protection under the law. However, since we have the ADA, most people assume that disabled people no longer face discrimination. That is simply untrue. Not only socially, due to harmful stereotypes, but also legally. Did you know that employers can legally pay disabled people less? Goodwill only pays their disabled employees 50 cents an hour. If you depend on disability income, they will take it away if you get married. And even though service dogs are legally considered medical equipment that cost between $10,000 and $30,000, no insurance company will help cover the cost. Every day, our lifelines are attacked and killed due to people faking service dogs by buying illegal paperwork and a vest off Amazon sold to anyone. We have the ADA, but we still have a long way to go. I don't think enough people
These were just a few of the animals that I chose to show because there was a million videos on a million different ways to show different uses of the trained service animal. And so I welcome any questions.
Does anyone have questions they'd like to ask? Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Guess I'm not clear on what you're asking. Are you asking that they don't have to be registered or that people don't have to pay the $8 fee for an altered dog?
No, what I'm asking is that we remove the 3 types of service animals listed in our ordinance and then replace that with the definition of a service dog through the ADA.
So they would still have to be registered and still have to pay the fee.
Sure. I believe in that. I believe in the registration. I believe that that's the city's way of making sure the dogs are vaccinated, exactly, getting the rabies shots, that we as a city know that they're out there, and in case one of them gets loose or, God forbid, something else happen, and we've got to track down where the dog lives, where the dog belongs. So I'm not trying to get away from that. What I'm trying to get away from is the 3 service animals that are currently listed in our ordinance and go with a definition of what a service animal is, rather than, because obviously from the video you saw there's a couple right there that are clearly service animals, but yet they're not listed as being exempt in our ordinance. A sight dog, a hearing dog, and a mobility dog are the only 3 that are listed in our ordinance currently. So if you have epilepsy, you're SOL. You're not exempt. You're not exempt, but because I'm blind, I'm exempt.
We're going by the state rule, correct? That's what's in the state?
Well, as you can see, what I handed out today, it's not, because there have been changes, and they are also, because I got this email at 5:15 this afternoon. I wasn't able to get a letter from the council, but the legal counsel for the state, but that is on its way. And that's why I was hoping that this could go to Public Service and Safety, because if it passes tonight, it would go back to a committee, and that committee would determine what exactly is what. This is what I'm asking for. If we pass it to go back to committee, then you guys can take it from there and decide what you want. With any luck, I would have more of that documentation from the state that I'm looking for. But I currently have our senator's office working on it, as well as our state legislator. It's just 2 weeks' time isn't a whole lot.
Oh, sorry. Alderman Lundrum.
I wasn't clearing my throat to get your attention.
I was reading the letter.
Thank you. I just want to ask our city attorney, are we currently, we meaning the city of Neenah, currently in compliance with both state and federal laws now?
Yes and no. If I'm understanding Alderman Boyette's request, she would like us to expand Section 3-14 for dog and cat licenses, but here we're talking about dogs, to have more than just the blind, deaf, and mobility assisting service animals. However, the issue really is about licensing and whether the person pays a tax for that license. Our Section 3-14, which I just mentioned a minute ago, was taken directly from and was a mirror of, intended to be a mirror of State Statute 174.05. So it's the state of Wisconsin that requires all canines, no matter for what purpose they are, to be licensed and for people to pay a tax for that. And the only ones exempt are the ones that we have exempt in our ordinance: seeing eye dogs, hearing impaired dogs, and mobility assistance dogs, none others. The ADA also says that for all service animals, they still shall be compliant with local ordinances like ours that require licensing and the paying of the tax or fee. State calls it a tax. We've called it a fee. It's the same thing. What I've discovered when this came to our attention a few weeks ago was that our Section 3-14, subsection D, subsection 3, actually makes exempt those 3 categories from the whole licensure scheme. That's not compliant with the state.
Oops.
So I don't know how it's been done through finance exactly in every case, but for any folks that have dogs in those 3 categories, they still have to be licensed. They just don't have to pay the fee And there's a check mark or checkbox both on the online form and on the paper form that allows you to check it. I have a service dog, and then we're allowed to ask what special training does that dog have in order to see if it fits in one of those three. What the ADA doesn't allow is for us to keep a registry or a listing of whose dog does what in terms of service animals. So if I understand Alderman Boyette properly, what she's asking us to do is expand the list that the state hasn't done. So that would be something you need to take up in Madison.
It is, and it's happening. They just couldn't do it within a 2-week period. And
Okay.
That's the state.
Well, unless or until, the state legislature changes the law, we're bound by state law 174.05. The only change that we need to make in our ordinance now is that we need to make sure all these animals are licensed. They still don't have to collect a fee and shouldn't if they fit into one of those categories. So
you'll be making that, I don't know if it's a housekeeping change or if it's a...
it would require a change to subsection D3. I don't know that that requires a council directive. I certainly can make a
probably
proposal to make that change. But in terms of doing what Alderman Boyette is suggesting, we can't do that unless or until the state changes its law.
Well, according to this, it says that we can be equal or greater than the state.
Which letter are you referring to the?
Sorry, maybe I have it in another.
She's referring to the memo from Ryan Retzla, October 4th, first paragraph.
The federal ADA allows states to establish equal or greater protections for those with disabilities. Doesn't mention municipalities. Is it later? I'm not seeing it mention municipal.
Well, so I guess I don't understand then. Why can the state be greater, but the city can't? They're saying that we can be equal or greater. But at a minimum,
the state can be equal or greater to federal ADA,
right.
I think is what this
right. And so we
says.
can't be. We can't add to that. We can't be greater than.
That's right.
I'm not asking to be less than.
Right.
The state is limited, or I'm sorry, municipalities are a entity of the state government. So we are bound by whatever the state says unless home rule abilities would allow us to change that. We wouldn't be able to do anything different than 174.05 unless or until the state decides to broaden those categories. And that's what I was saying before. They can do that if they want. And I don't know where this memo came from, or I guess it's just being cited by the senator's office. Anyway, I need to look into that a little further. But the ADA says you have to comply with local ordinances. Our local ordinances have to comply with the state statute. And other than what I mentioned before, ours does, as it's currently written, as the state statute is currently written.
So then what does this 107.52 mean? Is that nothing then?
That has to do with vaccinations rather than licensing.
Well, I didn't ask them for vaccination information. I asked them for licensing and service dog information. And this, according to them, states that it's for service animals and that it doesn't limit it to a dog. I don't know why that, you think that, or.
I guess I'm not sure what you're asking. All I know is that 174.05 of the state statute as currently written requires all dogs to be licensed unless they fit into one of those three categories. The state might come along and change that and add to that list some of the things that you were mentioned here tonight. But we don't have the power to do that. The state does, but they haven't so far.
So we can't do anything to change this. We have to keep it with the 3 service animals.
Yes, because the state law says you have to have all dogs licensed, and you have to pay a tax for that unless you fit into one of those 3 categories: blind, hearing, or mobility.
Alderman Erickson?
It still says I have the floor on my little thing.
Oh, sorry.
Can I just add one more thing? I just wanted to clarify that Alderman Boyette is free to come back, right? If the state does make these changes or the federal government makes these changes, she's more than welcome to come back and revisit this council directive. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And it probably at any time, right? It doesn't have to be a year or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Erickson.
My question was answered. Thank you.
Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. So the issue on the table is whether or not we create a council directive with the intentions as Alderperson Boyette has shared with us. I'm supportive of the creation of the council directive because we're almost debating the issue tonight. And there's nothing on the floor to debate. It's whether we want to create a tool for Alderperson Boyette to continue to monitor. It sounds like we have to do some homework in our own ordinance to do some changes with fees and licensings or taxes or something. Did I hear that correctly? That our ordinance needs some tweaking currently?
Yes.
Yeah, so we need to do something anyway with our ordinance. At the same time, Alderperson Boyette is working with the state to hopefully lobby them to make some changes. I'd fully support the creation of the directive. Some directives stay on here for years because it takes that long to get them passed. So I would support the directive. Let Alderperson Boyette do her work with her Madison connections. At the same time, we're going to be doing some internal work at the minimum that may help her get that accomplished. And I'm fully supportive of utilizing and allowing and identifying diabetic trained dogs to help kids monitor their blood sugar. For that reason alone, I'll support it. So let's call the question.
So is the directive that you're supporting, it would go to Public Services and Safety for further debate?
It likely would, but there's no requirement for that. We should do something with it if we create the directive.
Yeah, that's been an issue in the past where
right.
we created a directive that kind of died.
We don't know the committee of jurisdiction. So I would support the directive and defer it to the Public Services and Safety for future consideration, even if it's nothing more than cleaning up our own ordinance.
Well, Finance and Personnel does licensing, so we have a
I
question
don't care
here.
which, I don't care where you want it.
We can figure that out if people are in support of this council directive. So you've called the question. I would ask then that you cast your vote for Council Directive number 2023-03, unless there was someone else who wanted to speak. Did I miss anybody? Okay. So cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-1.
Thank you.
Is there any unfinished business? Is there any new business? Under new business, we've got Arrowhead Park Development Status Report, Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor Lang. I do have something to report this evening. I've been waiting for a couple months. Tomorrow morning, our City Hall technical team will be the first to see the new Arrowhead Master Plan. And then the Arrowhead Task Force will see that on the 16th. So looking forward to see what that looks like.
Yes, we've all been waiting and we're anxious to see it and excited to see what they've come up with. Is there any other new business?
It's a question. When will the council members get a copy of that?
Yeah.
Plan?
Yep.
Thank you.
Our clerk would like to remind everyone of the League of Municipalities Conference that is coming up. Dates for that are the 18th, I think, through the 20th of this month. Are there any other announcements or new business?
Homecoming this weekend, or say on Friday for Neenah High School. Parade route has altered some construction, so just know that you can still watch the parade down Commercial Street starting from the old train station, following down all the way downtown Neenah, and then obviously the game against Fond du Lac being played at Neenah High School.
Also, this weekend is the run walk around the loop to support the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin and particularly targeting local families with need. And the Neenah High Hall of Fame. God, do you want to mention that?
That's not the Neenah High School, it's the Neenah Joint School District
Right.
Hall of Fame. We'll have their induction ceremony at the new high school this year for the first time, obviously, as opposed to at the Bridgewood. You can get your tickets at the administrative building on South or North Commercial. It's at the high school.
it's
Yeah,
at the
it's at the
high
high
school.
school, not at Bridgewood for the first time.
Thanks for that. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.